Building great products takes much more than just having a good idea. It requires a thoughtful strategy, user empathy, and flawless execution. Our guest today has mastered his craft, and pretty much over his 9 year career in product management, he has managed to build great products at the companies he has been employed by. Harish Potabathula is the Associate Director of Product Management at Whatfix, where he focuses on digital adoption products or platforms. Previously, he honed his skills at High Radius and IBM while shipping products in payments, credit management, and business consulting. Harish believes deeply in creating positive impact through product, a passion that shines through his thoughtful approach. In this episode of Got 10 Minutes, brought to you by Samelogic, we'll hear about his journey from management consulting to product, insights that shaped his product philosophy, and thoughts on launching successful products. Harish, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dwayne. Happy to be on the podcast.
Awesome. Great to have you. You have an impressive background spanning payments, credit management, and business consulting. How has this diverse experience shaped your approach to product management?
Sure. One of the things that I really enjoyed in my 11 years of career, first couple of years as a consultant and later as a product manager, is always the aspect of problem solving. I'm always attracted to interesting problems to solve, and that's how I approached almost every work that I did. Uh, so while I started as a management consultant at IBM, what I quickly realized in a couple of years is the kind of problems that I have been solving for our customers and clients is are kind of repetitive in nature. It's the same set of problems now. I'm probably doing it in better than what I used to do before, but it's the kind of repetitive nature of those problems. So that's when I started looking at, okay, what is the kind of profession which I would enjoy, where I have constantly new set of problems to solve every every day, every month, and every quarter, and so on. And product management in India, especially at that time, was still nascent. It's still in early stages, and I have a couple of product managers that were friends of mine, and then I got to know about what they do in their day-to-day life of as a PM, and that really kind of attracted me towards product management. I moved to High Radius and transitioned to product management, and within a very short span of time, I knew that this is the right thing that I wanted always, and really like the kind of challenges it brought to the table, and how it's kind of constantly evolving and changing. There's no one single same day, at work. So that's what really, created an impact for me. And ever since, I've been into product management and really enjoyed my entire career as a PM.
So what originally drew you to product management versus remaining in management consulting?
One key aspect of that was the dynamic nature of the profession. It's not exactly the same problem that you're solving every day, but it's like every day is new. Whether it is things that you're solving for your customers, or things that you're solving for your internal team to align and move towards a common goal, it's always that constant challenge that really created that passion in me to solve those problems. And as a person, I'm a big puzzle addict, so I like solving puzzles. I like solving brain teasers as I grew up. So wherever there is a challenging problem, instead of shying away from it, I'm kind of attracted to that, to solve that problem. So that's what I immediately found. When I initially moved to product management, I wasn't fully sure what to expect, so it's kind of an unknown. But soon I realized this is exactly what I want to do, and the dynamic nature of the profession of constantly having important challenges to solve that create a larger impact for whether it is your clients or customers or users. That's what drove me further.
What are some of the biggest challenges you've faced in launching new products, and how do you manage your risk when building something that's completely new and bringing that to market?
Sure. There are many aspects to the product management, right? So as a especially I work in product management on B2B software products. So High Radius is a B2B SaaS company, and same with Whatfix. So the kind of challenges, of course, would be a little different from probably a B2C software, or maybe even other product companies. But in my context, the problems that your customer has, and most often the customers are not giving a problem to solve, they're coming up with a solution, because they are already thinking about the problem and solution, and they come to you with, this is what I want. But what I one of the biggest learning for me is to always deep dive into understanding what the problem is rather than focusing on the solution. I generally spend a lot more time on the problem space rather than solution space. That's what opens up a lot of ways to solve that same problem for me. So one of but in addition to the customer problems or business problems, I think as a product manager, one of the key things is to rally around your entire team towards a common goal, and make everyone part of the common goal that you're trying to achieve for your product, for your company. I think that has been the biggest challenge as well as biggest learning experience for me. There are always multiple teams that you're dealing with, internal, external, and aligning everyone towards that common goal, and addressing the misalignments between those teams, and giving them the direction to move the needle for the company and for the product. That I think is probably the biggest challenge for a lot of product teams, and same with me as well.
And pretty much that ties in directly with like how the entire company runs. So like walk me through your product development process, like when you're taking something from idea to launch, and like how do you prioritize what things need to be built and what things to be included in the MVP?
Sure. So the way I think about an MVP is to not just, basically the premise behind that is, what is the minimum product that gives you maximum learning.
Mm,
Because when you're building, I believe in lean methodology. So it's not like you're putting a lot of effort up front and then figuring out later that whether it's working or not. So there should be a constant feedback loop that is feeding into the product, and helping you iterate and learn as fast as you can. So even before building something, I generally spend a lot of time on first doing the discovery of that problem itself, and validating those solutions even before building something, as putting some engineering effort into it. That way you're doing as much iterations as possible even before you're writing the first line of code. And even after you're looking at, okay, now you have like some validation of what you want to build, and you, let's say, started putting the development efforts towards it. From an MVP standpoint, when it comes to prioritizing, the way I would look at is to see the end-to-end journey of that particular problem for the customer, because you don't want to build just half or part of what they want to achieve. So you would still want to address it end to end, but may not be every single complexity or corner case, but it's still enough to solve their main key problem in a meaningful way, so that you can really get the feedback, as well as understand whether you're actually delivering value to that customer or not. That's how I would look at the MVP, which is still the end-to-end case, but the basic minimum that they require.
yes, it's very important, to understand what users want and to
Hmm.
learn important,
Yeah.
like first and foremost. So what do you believe are the critical ingredients for building a scalable product, and how do you know when it's time to scale?
In my experience, I've worked on both, like the some early stage products, or even launch new products, as well as products at scale, which has, like, hundreds of customers and so on. I think every product does go through this transition of, okay, initially you wanted to move fast, and rapidly iterate and validate. So you're not probably spending as much time on having a future proof architecture, or having the entire platform in place. I think i think that's okay. I think it's okay to not optimize for the future at the early stage of the product. That's what I feel, because at the initial stages, you really don't know what exactly is something that the customer would benefit from, and how you would want to pivot your product. So I think initially it is okay to not think too much about how, whether it'll be okay or will it fit the next 2 or 3 years of what I'm going to build. And I think if all products go through this, switch or a version upgrade of, let's say, after a few customers, let's say 5-10 customers, you feel like there's a pattern of what these customers to solve and what they want you to solve, as well as how they're getting deriving value out of your product. Once you this see that pattern with 4 to 5 customers, you know that that's what you want to pivot for, and then you start thinking how I can now just focus on this particular problem for the product and make it work for 100 customers. So I think that's when that one big upgrade of probably then you would have to think about the platform and whether how seamless it is to add new features without impacting your existing customers and so on. But generally, I don't like to do all of that right up front. It's okay to go through that, platform rehaul and stuff like that after you find the product market fit for your product.
How has your product management changed over the expanse of your career, and what are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned over your career so far?
Sure. I think one biggest change that I see in the way I have done product management is at the start of the career as a junior product manager, as a PM or even an SPM. Initially, it was more about the execution aspect of it because you're working closely with your developers, designers, and everyone involved in the product building and ensuring it is meeting the deadlines and meeting the quality standards and so on. As I evolved and experienced various stages of the product and so on, I think at least the way I have done product management has evolved into not just focusing on the execution aspects of it, but also equally focus on the strategic aspects of it. When what I mean by that is how you're going to sell, whom you're going to sell to, and how you're going to pitch the product, and what is your market, and looking at much more broader aspects and enabling all the internal teams, your sales, your marketing, influencing them on what is the best way for you to take the product to the market, the go to market strategy, and so on. I think that has, and getting involved in all of that has expanded the way I looked at even the execution part of it. So now when I look at product management, even like building a feature, I'm not looking at just technically is it the best way to design this feature, but also looking at all other aspects of it, right? Like how it will overall fit into the company's marketing strategy or a company's pitch and its value proposition and so on, and how our internal teams can take it to market in addition to what they're already selling to the market out there. So that kind of expanded, and I think that holistic picture of looking at all aspects of the product and business, not just the initial execution and development and engineering efforts, is how I would see my PM work has evolved.
What are some of the emerging technologies or trends that you're keeping an eye on? And I'm pretty sure everyone's like talking about like how AI is changing the space, especially generative AI. But like, how do you stay on top of what happens in the industry?
Sure. Like you said, AI is probably the hottest topic right now in technology world and even outside, and it's important to be on top of what's happening on in this AI world. The way I kind of feel what's happening right now is there's several technologies once in a generation or probably multiple times in a generation that kind of fundamentally change the way people either think or expect from a technology standpoint or interact with technology. For example, iPhone. Like now, a touch interface on a mobile device is like almost like a given. So it can till then it was like not thought of, right, or not as well spread as it is now. So therefore, such I think what's happening now, especially from a software and human interaction with the software standpoint, what is currently happening with ChatGPT and all the AI innovation around the world will fundamentally change how people interact with software. Um, the way I feel, I mean, again, it's like probably a prediction. I don't know when it will happen. But right now, the way I feel is when I'm interacting with anything on my computer, any software, The UI that I see is a way for me to convert or communicate with the underlying software. The underlying software is the code, the logic, and the business process logic, and so on. But the UI is only there just for me to interact with it. And I'm in a way, if I have 100 softwares, there are 100 different languages in a way that I'm learning. Every single user interface is something that I'm learning to use that software. So I'm learning 100 different languages to interact with each of these softwares. I think with the current AI revolution with ChatGPT, I think all of that, instead of we learning the language of the softwares are now have learned our language of, you know, speaking in plain English, or even writing in English. So in a way, softwares have learned our language now. So we don't have to learn all the languages of all the user interfaces. So I think eventually it'll be whatever technology or software that you want to interact with. I think it will just be like how I interact with you, and it's up to the machine, and it's probably expected in the future for the machine to know, and not for the machine to expect the human to know its language, the UI. Rather, it is expected that the machine will know the language of the humans, and do whatever we ask it to do. That's the kind of, at least how I see things probably shaping up.
Yes, I completely agree. This is my last question here. I ask everyone who comes onto the show this question, and
Mhm.
that is, what's one weakness that you've turned into your strength?
Of course, I mean, there are many things I think that you would learn as you grow. Probably one thing that comes to my mind is, as I grew up, as was studying, and even in the initial part of my career, I was never a writer. I don't write a lot of things. I kind of try to keep everything in my head, or only when I need I used to write. So that kind of was like, if I have to write a document about something, or if I have to put some thoughts down, I would kind of resist a lot. Maybe because I probably wrote a lot of stuff in my college and school, and like maybe I kind of grew some resistance towards now writing stuff or putting my pen down and write stuff. Uh, but over a period of time, I think, especially in the PM career, I kind of realized that writing actually helps a lot in giving clarity to your own thoughts, even if you're not showing to someone. I think writing is really important. Putting your thoughts down on a paper kind of changes everything in terms of the clarity it brings, in terms of direction it gives, and the structure it gives to your thoughts, and just frees up your mind, I think, more. So more recently, I think past several years, I've been trying to do more writing, than just keeping everything stored in my mind. So that is one weakness I used to have. I used to resist writing a lot, but that's one weakness I kind of moved towards more writing now, and I really, really now enjoy and encourage every team member to, whatever thought that you want to communicate, whatever idea that you have, even if you don't want to communicate, but think for yourself, put things on paper, write it down. It just is mind blowing how it will kind of change the whole perspective.
That's amazing. Thanks for joining us today on this episode, Harish. Where can our listeners find you if they'd like to connect?
I'm on LinkedIn. That's where I'm most active. It's LinkedIn, Harish Potabathula. I'll probably share with you the profile as well. But yeah, that's where I'm most active. I'm also active on Twitter. I don't tweet a lot, but I do consume a lot of a lot of information from Twitter. But yeah, those are probably two most. But I'm also right now in Silicon Valley, so I work out of our San Jose office in the US. So uh, I like networking with people here in the Bay Area. Is where probably all the tech brains are here. So good to connect with people here.
All right, awesome. And thanks for listening to the Got 10 Minutes podcast. To stay in touch, please follow us on LinkedIn or the podcast app you're listening to this on right now for more episodes. Take care.